Hi, everybody. Welcome, parents. We're so glad to see you today. We're so glad you're watching this video. We are the Bright Family Engagement Team, and we are here for our November session. So, Bright is a giant community that transforms how schools support students and families who've experienced a mental health disruption. And we, as I mentioned, are the family engagement team. So I want to introduce quickly my colleagues here. We have Lakeisha over there, got Victor down there, and Julie. And this is the fabulous family engagement team. And you're going to hear a lot from Maddie in a second, who's our special guest tonight. Um, but we do these learning sessions the first Tuesday of the month. And these sessions are a time to come together and just learn about topics that other parents have identified as things they want to talk about. So we want to learn about those things. We want to talk about those things with you. And we also have twice a month parent conversations, and those happen on Zoom the second Tuesday of the month. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Parent conversations for any and all parents are all welcome. And on the fourth Tuesday of the month, we have parent conversations for BIPOC parents. So, affinity space for BIPOC parents. And these are times to just come together and talk. We can support each other on anything that's come up for you that day. We can brainstorm. We can work through a sticky parenting situation that you're wanting help untangling. We are here for all of that. So, all of us are parents. We love being in conversation with all of you and talking with all of you. So, we hope you join us at either of the parent conversations, or if you want to just come to the learning sessions in the first Tuesday of the month. We are so happy to be together with you. So I'm going to pass it to my colleague Julie, who's going to introduce our guest tonight. And then we're going to have a little conversation about the topic. And tonight's topic is parenting our elementary kids who are managing and living with anxiety. So I'll pass it to you, Julie.
Thanks, Megan. Hello, everyone. I am about to introduce our friend Maddie Neely, who is originally from New York City and lives in downtown Northampton, Massachusetts, with her partner, 10-year-old daughter, and puppy. She works at Smith College in the Alumni Relations Developmental Department and is also a member of the Northampton Center for the Arts Board of Directors. Maddie delights in doing anything creative and has a special fondness for theater, photography, singing, crafting, and jewelry making. Maddie, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm actually going to share my screen. I have a little presentation slideshow for you all, and I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Great. So as Megan said, I'm going to be talking about parenting my anxious elementary child. Um, So I just want to give, in addition to my bio, just a little bit about myself in relation to this presentation. So I'm a parent of an elementary school age child, as Julie had mentioned. And while I have observed and witnessed many things around this presentation topic, I also thought it'd be really helpful to round out the information I'm presenting by connecting with the people in my community for their thoughts and feedback, and then incorporate that information mostly as quotes within the presentation. So you're going to see a lot of quotes from my fellow community members who are parents and in other roles. These people, all parents to elementary school age children, also offer a unique lens and perspective. For example, being both a parent and a social worker, and a parent and an elementary school teacher. And then also parents who are very involved in the PTO leadership in their child's school. So it's important, and I just wanted to make this distinction that I'm not presenting this information as an expert who works in the field or makes diagnosis. These. Okay. So this is a quick overview of my presentation. I'm going to talk about some specific types of anxiety that I've observed and witnessed. And again, I'm going to go through this briefly because, again, I'm not the expert, as you all probably are, and many of the people who will watch this presentation. Some common causes or triggers, how anxiety manifests and shows up, strategies witnessed or tried, and then some resources. And then if there's time, I know we'll have a Q&A.
So Maddie, I'm noticing there the slides are not showing up here.
Oh,
Do you see your slides?
I do. You don't see them?
We don't see them.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
And I'm going to try it again.
Mhm. And I know you did send them to me, so I could always try it too if
Okay, let's try this again.
yes, that we see
Now you
that.
see them? Okay. Can you see that?
No.
Oh, that's really weird. Um, do you want to try to share it from your end?
Sure, let me try to pick those up from my end. Yes.
It's really
Um,
weird.
let's
We
see.
can see it when it's not in full screen, so maybe just keep it the way it is. We can see that. Mm.
Okay. Yeah, if that works, that's great. Just don't know if it'll be really small on your end, but yeah, just let me know if it's better for Megan to share it from her end so that it's a little bit of a wider screen. So that was my spiel from the beginning. And this was the overview. Okay, so some specific types of anxiety observed and witnessed. And you can all see this? Okay,
Yes.
great. So here, I'm going to start with a quote. Again, there's lots of quotes within the presentation. So a parent says, I believe that many people deal with some level of anxiety and some is situational. We are all dealing with some level of anxiety, especially in today's world. So again, I'm going to go through this briefly because I kind of wanted to set a foundation for different types of anxiety, especially the one that I've witnessed or observed. But I'm not going to go too much into it because again, I'm not the expert in any way. But generalized anxiety, a child can have a lot of worries that can be related to many different things, such as performance in school, health, safety, and also can result in the child having physical symptoms. Social anxiety, just some examples again that I've witnessed and observed. If a child is new to school, especially in the older grades, they might feel that it's hard to make friends. A child might be more shy and tend to be more by themselves because of this. If they've missed a lot of school because they're sick, they may have feelings of missing out or maybe even being left out. If they're not in the same class as their really good friends, they might find it hard to make new friends in their class. And maybe they're highly sensitive to their specific environment. Separation anxiety, again, what I've witnessed and observed is common. I know, kids can tend to have it if they're being separated from their parents, their caregivers, or, a familiar environment. And it could be expected too, at least I've seen that children might have some separation anxiety at the beginning of the school year. Maybe they're transitioning from pre-K to elementary school. It's like a whole different school a lot of the times. Um, and or maybe they're having some separation anxiety if there's been some major life changes, like things that are happening at home. Um, and a high level of separation anxiety could get in the way of a child's ability to go to school, participate in activities, or in general, just feel comfortable being away from their home. So here's another quote. Very often, my kids exhibit strong emotional responses to anxiety triggers very far away from the trigger itself. And because extreme emotions make us all of us less logical, it can be really hard to sort out what the cause is. And that's from a parent. So some common causes or triggers: school instability and transition. So again, as I mentioned, I've observed moving from one grade to the next or changing to a new school, change in staffing in the school, inconsistency with teachers being out of the classroom for a while, like if a teacher's sick and they've been out for long periods and the class has a substitute teacher, it could cause some, instability in the class as a whole and also individual kids. Perfectionism, setting unrealistic high standards for themselves and feeling intense pressure to meet them. Perhaps will avoid working on projects or wanting to do their work in fear of not doing it right. Expectations the child set on themselves, or they believe that teachers or staff are also putting on them. And I just have an internal quote here, like, I can't do it unless it's perfect. So this is a quote from a parent. Oh, let me see. I think I skipped some. So school performance and academics, school performance, anxiety can lead to excessive worry or fear related to schoolwork, tests, or even being evaluated by teachers and peers. Family changes and instability. Maybe there's something happen in the home environment where the child is going through a lot of changes or maybe is feeling unstable. For example, if a family member passes away, is sick, or is struggling in some way. So another quote from a parent: we're seeing a lot of anxiety around school performance and academics. It comes out as frustration, avoidance, meltdowns, and sadness. When my kiddo gets to the sadness part, we get to hear what's really going on and how they feel everyone else finds schoolwork to be easy, and they perceive themselves to be the only one struggling with anything. The anxiety makes practicing at home a real challenge because they want to avoid those feelings and any activity that brings them up. So, how anxiety manifests and shows up. So, avoidance, avoiding participation. Maybe they're not raising their hand, they're avoiding group work, not wanting to go to school, or again, going back to separation. Challenges. They are having separation anxiety at drop off. Physical symptoms. Parents, caregivers may notice small changes initially. A child who used to be easygoing might start of complaining of headaches, stomach aches, feeling sick as they're getting ready to go to school, right before school, meltdowns. A caregiver might see tears, clinginess at drop off, more consistent irritability at home or trouble sleeping, getting enough sleep, staying asleep. Some kids are more quiet and withdrawn. Other children become more reactive or have meltdowns more easily. And then I just wanted to note something I've observed, that there's like worries and anxiety. Again, I'm no expert, but worries can become anxiety when they start interfering with the child's daily life. For example, your child avoids school, does not want to have play dates, or has consistent physical complaints. Um, and then, if it seems like the worry is getting bigger, um, I've personally witnessed and observed, it's definitely worth reaching out for help and support. So strategies witnessed or tried. So I'm going to talk a little bit about within this larger topic of strategies witnessed, tried, some kind of subcategories. So for instance, the caregiver and child anxiety. It's really this balancing act of support and challenge. So it's tricky. So some of the things that I've observed and witnessed, and also the people in my community I've noted here. So anticipating any possible issues or stress well in advance of any situation to kind of like preview what's coming and making sure there's really no unexpected surprises. Another thing that can help is mentally preparing the child and giving them strategies for obstacles in advance. Having a calm down plan that's practiced ahead of time makes a really big difference. Practice routines at home and have consistent routines at home, especially around morning and bedtimes. Lowering expectations and pressure in advance. When you're going someplace like to an event or a social gathering, arriving a few minutes early so your child can ease in slowly to the environment and the situation. Um, Basically, predictability and connection are key, and gentle reassurance like you're safe, I'm here, using calming techniques like breathing exercises and sensory tools. So around this is a really great quote from, again, someone in my community, that I think kind of encompasses this idea of balancing support and challenge. I think many parents start reacting to anxiety by accommodating and avoiding situations that provoke their child's anxiety. I know we did. We avoided loud or crowded settings, bought special clothes, adjusted our eating habits. An approach we found that helped is if the child is old enough, is to teach the child to recognize when they feel overwhelmed or anxious, name it, and learn some skills to manage it without avoiding the thing that's causing the anxiety. Your child might also need breaks and more downtime than other kids. What you are working towards is getting your child to know they tend to have anxiety, knowing what tends to trigger them, being able to do things anyways because they are aware of and able to manage their anxiety. This teaches them that they are strong and capable, and they might need to take breaks or have downtime, but they also might need to push themselves to do things that are hard. So here are just some other specific quotes, specifically one for around social anxiety from a parent. Help your child take small, supported steps. Maybe start with one-on-one playdates before big groups. Role play social scenarios. Model positive self-talk and celebrate effort, not just outcome. For avoidance, think gentle push, not shove. Set realistic goals and praise bravery, even in tiny steps. If your child refuses something one day, revisit it later. Avoid letting avoid letting avoidance become the pattern, but don't force when anxiety is high. Another thing, and this was actually new to me, that a friend who's a parent, and who's also a social worker introduced to me. So this is introducing helpful coping skills, something called social stories, which you all might be aware of, which I found really interesting. So in addition to the previewing, people have found social stories really helpful. Social stories, originally developed by Carol Gray for children with autism, are now used for various situations, including to support individuals who may be experiencing anxiety, especially in social or situations that can feel unpredictable. So the structure of the short stories are really simple, they're positive, they're predictable and supportive, and are often paired with pictures and images that help individuals deal with situations that are anxiety provoking. And this is a direct quote from that parent. I find it helpful to sometimes separate anxiety from my child. So saying that this is not her, but she's experiencing it, and even drawing a picture of it can help. You can easily make a social story, even with a pen and a piece of paper specific to your kid's situation. So, along the lines of helpful coping skills, this is from a parent who's also a teacher, an elementary school age teacher. So she says, use words and phrases that will help them understand what is happening. Your worry brain is trying to keep you safe, but it's working too hard right now. You can be brave and scared at the same time. Labeling it helps kids externalize anxiety rather than feel defined by it. And use games, worry monsters to feed drawings of worries to, which I think all these are so great. Calm jars, glitter and water to watch until the storm settles. Storytime themes about courage, what to do when you worry too much. Breathing buddies, stuffed animals for belly breathing practice. Games like freeze and melt to practice tension and relaxation. So, just a couple more quotes from parents. I found that my child resists when I try to teach her coping skills, like breathing exercises, but she picks them up at school and likes to come home and teach them to me. She also makes up her own. What worked for her at particularly anxious time around school was a combination of her and my ideas. She did a ritual every night with a magic crystal wand, sort of blessing herself before sleep. She carried a little stone with her in her pocket, and she wore an amulet that I made. These little rituals helped her sleep and helped her to go to school with confidence. And when she felt better, she was very proud to give them up. We buried the amulet in a little ceremony. I think the real treatment for anxiety is confidence building, not coping. So this is kind of a little bit contradictory, but interesting, I think. So activities that build confidence physically or otherwise. Let the kid build and show off new skills, which is the could be the best antidote. Could be taking an art class, babysitting younger kids, cooking, anything they can do and get a good result that they are proud of and praise. Another quote from a parent: it's important to emphasize that you don't need to do everything, but you can try things and see what works. And it needs to work for you, for your kid, and in your life. So I'm going to focus a little bit now on strategies witnessed and tried, but from working with teachers or staff in the school environment. So here's a quote from a parent: teachers and school staff can be very competent around anxiety. It is common, but they need a leader to organize them around a plan. A cookie cutter approach is not as helpful because it manifests differently in every child. If you don't feel like you can be that leader, or no one else is stepping in, it can be helpful to get an outside child psychologist or therapist you trust involved. And then I think it's never a bad idea to explore school resources, even if you meet with a child therapist, just to get parenting ideas and never introduce them to the child. It can be very grounding and supportive, and then they are there if things get hard or a crisis develops. So, some advice for caregivers in communicating with teachers and school staff in the school environment. This is from a teacher who's also a parent. Start early and keep communication warm and solution focused. Share specific examples and ask, what can we do together rather than, can you fix this? Teachers appreciate when parents trust them as partners. And then on the other side, just specifically from a parent, the professionals in the school try to be as accommodating as possible, but there are parts of the school environment that are often contributing factors. So it's like very layered. From a teacher's perspective, some things that are helpful are open, honest communication, share what works at home, let us know about triggers, and check in regularly. Unhelpful, waiting until things become a crisis or keeping anxiety, quote, secret from school. We can support best when we're partners. And then she notes teachers can often be able to offer calm down spaces, provide gentle reassurance and structure, allow movement or sensory breaks, use visual schedules and clear expectations, and communicate regularly with parents. So, again, from like a teacher parent perspective about special accommodations in the school environment, from a teacher slash parent perspective, scheduled check-ins with a counselor or teacher can be really helpful. Visual schedules and transition warnings, flexible seating or quiet workspaces, giving kids choices, safe person or calm down paths, gradual exposure plans for difficult activities. Quote, you're not alone, and this isn't your fault. Anxiety is common and treatable. Start by listening, validating, and keeping routine steady. Loop in the school counselor early. They are wonderful allies, which I totally agree. So this is kind of obvious, but caregivers can really truly be a mirror for their own child. This is again from a teacher parent perspective. Some quotes: model calm, Kids mirror our tone, take slow breaths, lower your voice, show empathy. I can see, quote, this is really hard for you. Remind yourself anxiety isn't your child being difficult, it's them feeling scared. Show children how you can problem solve and that everything has a solution or can be solved. And then it's neutral to want to rescue, but rescuing can reinforce fear. Try reminding yourself, my job is to support, not necessarily solve. Use your own calming strategies. Talk with other adults, journal, take breaks. This is so important. She says, I always wanted to fix my child's worries, and they taught me, can I just feel sad, Mom? Wow, so I'm getting towards the end here. It's going a lot faster than I thought. um, so some final thoughts. Being a caregiver for a child with anxiety can make you more empathetic, patient, and attuned to your child's needs. You can learn to slow down and parent with more thoughtfulness and intention. Then I have a quote here from a parent. It's so important for us as parents and humans to remember and remind our children that anxiety is an evolutionary trait we developed to protect ourselves from danger, not a flaw in our bodies. It's okay to feel anxious, it's normal, it's healthy, and it's our job as humans to learn how to interpret the information our emotions are giving us and move forward with what we are doing. And this last quote that I have is from a very wise elementary school age child. All of these things can be fixed. What helps me are books, holding a fidget to take my mind off of bad thoughts. And then this child says, and like what Taylor Swift said in her movie, change the channel in your brain, which helps because Taylor Swift literally said it. And then I have some resources here, some that are like I've used and some that I'd never heard of, but that the people that I reached out to in my community um, had expressed that they have helped them or work for them or they've looked into them at points. So I have social stories here, and Glow Blogs is a specific website. That details like specific social stories. Lynn Lyons, helping anxious kids and families manage anxiety disorders, worrywisekids.org, anxiety in the classroom, resources for parents of children with anxiety disorders from Stanford University, supporting students with anxiety in school, anxiety resources, helping kids with anxious feelings or anxiety disorders, managing anxiety, Boston Hospital, um, podcast called Your Anxious Child, a podcast called Hand in Hand Parenting, which is evidently now not active, but still a great archive, I've been told. Um, Space treatment, and then there's a social worker in my area in Western Mass, Sarah Abel. She does mindful parent workshops. And that's it.
Thanks, Maddie.
Yeah. Should I stop sharing?
That'd be great. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Maddie. I love the strategies for children and all the different ones. And I love that you said you shared that, you can have all these strategies for your child as a parent and they won't sometimes use them. And then the teacher could use them and then they bring them home and,
Yeah.
like hear them from a different person. I love that because that is
Yeah.
so true. Like I've
Yes.
done that with my own child in so many ways, even with music that I share with her. I could share it and then she comes home and says, oh, my friend introduced me to Fleetwood Mac. And I'm like, we've been listening to her whole life. So
Yeah. Like I introduced you to flavor.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I love that. I also love the glitter example, just anything to just get their minds off and like when you're in an anxious situation. The question I had was that I struggled with this as a child and I was really anxious when I started something new, I couldn't eat. Food became an issue. And so I would be so anxious when I travel or go on a field trip with my friends or the
Mhm.
first day of school that food would just totally turn me off. And so
Mhm.
I just wouldn't eat the whole day and my parents would get so worried about it. And My daughter doesn't have really that, but I can see she has tendencies of that sometimes. And I just wondered, like, what do you do around food? Because you don't want to create more problems and force food. And my parents really didn't know what to do with me. They got really worried, but they never got.
Mhm. You know, that's a great question, and I feel like there's a lot around food. Like there's it's very layered, like different types of anxiety. It sounds like, you know, you're if you were feeling anxious or nervous or worried that um, you know, your body was really reacting. And sometimes I know myself, like if I'm feeling really nervous about something, I like my whole body feels like wound up, you know, my central nervous system. And I think that can affect us, like not wanting to eat, like not wanting to put something in our body because we feel like we're dealing with so much. It's like adding one more thing. It's like almost too much. Like, how am I even going to process this food right now? Because I feel like I'm not even processing anything. Um, so that's a really great question. Um, you know, well, I don't want to like identify way too much, but just like around food, um, I think you can have physical symptoms and kind of like lose your appetite and not want to eat. And then there's things like phobias around food. So like I've witnessed someone having a metaphobia, which is the fear of throwing up,
Mm,
and not wanting to eat certain things if like maybe in the past they've eaten that and then thrown up because either they have
Mhm.
a stomach
Yes.
virus or there was food poisoning involved. Um, so I actually have specific personal experience with this. Um, and I think that I've learned that it's something you have to give time. It's not necessarily going to resolve overnight. To slowly kind of introduce back like confidence around it. Um, like a specific thing is like, um, you know, you're not allergic to it. Nothing bad is going to happen if you eat that. But if like you have a legit phobia of throwing up and that happened when you ate that food, it's like it's very real. Like you don't want to eat that. Um, so reassurance, that it's okay to eat that specific food, like maybe developing a mantra, specifically around emetophobia, like if I throw up, it's going to be okay. It's something that our body is doing. It's not okay. I mean, nobody wants to do that, but like it's it's our body's way of releasing something that it does not want and does not need. And then we move on. Like so to kind of like have a mantra that they can say to themselves that it's like going to pass and they're going to be okay. Um, and then like I know personal experience too, um, like around foods that might be expired and like a real attentiveness to like looking at foods to see if they've been expired, right? Because like you maybe they don't want to get food poisoning. So like reassuring, saying it's not expired, or oh my gosh, it is expired. Let's, you know, get rid of that. Let's. So I think, you know, I'm speaking to something like super specific around food, but I think that you know, it can probably apply even to Victor, what you had brought up around just like not wanting to eat, you know, whatever that reason is. And obviously, again, I'm no expert, but if it really becomes super challenging, like to get support um, from a professional. But in my own experience, it's really interesting because it's taken a while, but over time, things are um, getting better.
mhm.
I hope
Great.
that helps answer your question.
You. The other question I had was around, your child's super anxious and they're either not going to school or they don't want to go to a friend's house or, or maybe they're anxiety about using public bathrooms, just whatever it is. Um, as a parent, what can you do? Like, then if you become super anxious, like, how do you keep yourself calm in situations that don't get mad at them, or don't take them seriously? Like, what can you do to sort of be in there with them and not react the way a way you don't want to react?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I didn't end up mentioning COVID, but I feel like um, I'm seeing a lot in my orbit, kids who were around 5 years old when the pandemic happened and being isolated from their friends. Victor, you just spoke to like not wanting to go in a public restroom. Like we were all so tentative and worried about like being in public um, spaces and like how that is affecting those kids today, like in being more comfortable back out in the world. And obviously we've had time to kind of readjust, but I mean, I think I'm still seeing the effects of what uh our children went through during that time. um so I think some of the things that I do to stay calm and grounded when my child's feeling anxious is because, well, first of all, I'm a real empath. So, like, if my child is feeling anxious, I feel like I literally almost feel what she's feeling. Um, and I have to really work even extra hard um, to ground myself um, and find a space within myself that I can support her. um, so some things for that is this showed up especially in the pandemic. We live in under 1,000 square feet apartment, and so there wasn't like a lot of space, especially when we were all in the apartment together and when tensions were high. Um, you know, trying to find space to just be with yourself for even a few minutes if you can, or longer. Take a walk outside if you need to. Breathe air, breathe. Um, practice mindfulness techniques. Um, I have friends that also use tapping, which I've tried throughout, and also tried to introduce to my child as well, to kind of help ground and center yourself. Um, Take care of yourself so you can essentially support and take care of others in this place, in this situation, your child. um I find the more calm and grounded I am, the more my child is. So
Mm.
they very much like I'm picking up on their energy in my empathetic ways. They're also picking up on my energy, and if I'm um kind of getting like worked up, they sense that, and it just everything kind of like feeds. It's like
Yeah.
this cycle. So I find that the more calm and grounded that I am, the more calm my child is. So that's kind of like that being a mirror for them. Um, I think it's really important to reflect and identify and be aware of your own triggers. So if something is happening, if a situation maybe it's happened once, it's maybe harder to identify your own triggers, but like if something is repeatedly happening, like there's a foundation for a reason or a cause of why there's like an intensity and anxiety is rising, really being able to identify what is it about this situation, like what is making me feel anxious or making me not feel as calm as I would like to be in this situation, and just reflecting on that and identifying what those triggers are. And I'm speaking from like personal situation. It just like evens things out. It's like, okay, I know what it is, and now I can be aware of it in a situation, kind of get ahead of it a little bit. Kind of what I was going back to when like you are kind of making the situation a little bit more predictable for your child. Or like if you're going somewhere outside of the home, really like getting there early, making it as helpful, as easy for the child as possible. It's the same thing for yourself. So it's like being aware of that, you can go into the situation with much more groundedness and calm.
That's great.
And then another thing that I've really realized is that like things can feel really, really big in the moment. And it's like, how is this ever going to get better? How is this ever going to be okay again? Like, is this it? You know? And I think that in itself can feel so unbelievably overwhelming and daunting. And I feel like I've been in it enough to know that things will, and better isn't the right word, but things will ease. I think it's getting more of an understanding of the situation. And so that you can ask for support around that specific situation or just understand it better. And once you understand it better as a parent or caregiver, you can then better support your child. So I guess now I have my own internal mantra when I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels so big, I can't even handle it. And I'm like, okay, it's gonna get better. It's gonna be okay. This feels really big right now, but this is the moment. And something that my partner and I got really good at doing in the pandemic, and then we had a lot of losses after, is just we're gonna put one foot in front of the other. Like literally, we're just gonna take it step by step and not allow things to get like big and overwhelming. Um, Situations aren't often a quick fix, I've learned. They really do take time and they take work sometimes. It takes really figuring things out and understanding a situation. Um, and then I guess another point would be that it's really important to, as a caregiver, parent, to get support for yourself, to really reach out to your community, to your friends, to your family, the people that know you well, that will listen, give good advice, and that your community can also be a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, um, anybody that can help support you. So really establishing support, I think, is really important, and that goes for the child as well. Um, yeah, and a big thing is mindfulness and breathing and just making sure you find time and space for yourself.
That's great. I have one more question.
Mhm.
Give it up to my colleagues. Um, if I was wondering, like, the doctor's appointments are always a challenge.
Mhm.
All children, and some it's worse than others. And
Mhm.
the thing that they always sort of perseverate on is shots, right? Am I gonna get a
Yes.
shot? Am I gonna get the
Yeah.
shot? Right. And
Any
so,
needles. Yep.
yeah, how do
Mhm.
you help children get to the doctor? And if they do have to have a shot, like even the dentist, I'm thinking anything that could create pain, right? Um,
Yeah.
how do you help with that?
Hmm. That's a great question. And I actually checked in with my own child about this because I was kind of curious to hear her perspective, which I thought was really interesting. She was like, I think that that children, Victor, you alluded to this, often worry about something that's going to hurt or feel uncomfortable. So, like a shot, a vaccination, a strep test, which I know is just like, I don't know, I've witnessed is one of those things that is just not fun. And then even being prescribed antibiotics after a medical appointment, which antibiotics can sometimes taste funny. They can make us feel a little bit weird after. They can sometimes hurt our bellies, our stomachs. Um, and my child also, which isn't something I ever thought about, but having anxiety about going to the doctors or medical appointments, she said, maybe we're just really tired and we're not feeling well. And like the thought of getting out of bed just sounds awful, right? So it's like not only something where you might get something that's painful But if a child is sick and they have to just get to the doctor's appointment, that can cause stress, worry, anxiety. Um, so I think some things to do is reassure them. This is something we've had to do a lot, that doctors, because I think the doctors in general, and dentists can feel scary. But to really remind our kids, our children, and reassure them that doctors, nurses, medical assistants, they're really, truly there to help you. And to kind of reframe that environment. Like, we are taking you so that you can be seen and helped, and that so you can feel better. Remind them about previous doctors or dentist appointments that they've been to where maybe they weren't feeling well. Maybe they had a toothache and they went to the dentist, or they weren't feeling well and they went to the doctor. And then, maybe not right away, but a day or so later, they started feeling better. So kind of go back to previous experiences and be like, do you remember that? It might have felt scary, but they are really here to help us and to help you, and you're going to feel better. And then I think with vaccinations specifically, um, it can be really important to remind children that vaccinations are really there to help us and protect us.
That's great. Thank you. That's so helpful.
I thought you were talking straight at me, Maddie, with all those things, recommendations. So I have one last quick question for you. Um, I'm a mom of a elementary school age son who's on the spectrum. And one of the things that he's really struggling with, and it's affecting me as well, is bedtime. He
Mhm.
will not sleep in his own bed.
Mm.
So I'm
Mhm.
trying to get him out, and literally when he's in his own room, he gets really upset, like
Yeah.
very anxious to be there by himself. So I don't know if there's an easy way to help him. I don't know what else to do instead of throwing him out, because then my sleep is affected. So I'm just trying to find out any other strategies that you can think of that could help with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that this is something that's so common. It's something that we've experienced as well at points. I feel like there's really this like interesting ebb and flow around different ages and different like comforts and independence as the kids like grow up, and like maybe even the things that they're experiencing like outside of bedtime, and how that affects them when it is time to go into their room, in a space where they're ultimately going to be alone. I mean, some kiddos might share a room. Um, so I think it can often be that there's a fear to that layer that I was just speaking to, of being alone in a room by themselves. And I know I remember feeling that as well. I did not like I would ask my mom to to put me to bed. The bedtime went on for hours and hours and hours. I mean, my mom, I think back on it now, my mom was so sweet to me that she did that, but um I mean, this went on for years. I'm embarrassed to admit, like, how how old I was. But I think I needed to get used to that much quicker, like, and have confidence in being alone in my own space. Um, but children might fear that maybe someone will come into their room, someone will come into the house. Like, do they feel like their home is a safe environment? A lot of kids I know, think that there's monsters in their closet or under their bed. Excuse me. So I think it's important to build in routines that really make them feel confident and safe in their bedroom and their environment. So I know we've actually had a routine for a very long time, and it's kind of evolved, but we sing our daughter the song that my mom sang to me when I was little.
Mm.
And we've like, it's taken on like different variations, but it's still the same in many ways. So we
Mm.
sing that to her. And then we have another song that we sing. And then one of us stays with her for 5, sometimes it's 10, 15 minutes, but we try to, keep it to 5 minutes, and we talk about the day or what's going to happen tomorrow. And we really try to keep that as consistent as possible. Um, Another thing that actually my daughter has told me, which I think I don't know if she's actually like done this, but she said to me one day when we were talking about bedtimes that, and maybe her friends had talked to her about this, that there's like a special spray that kids can use to like scare off monsters that might be in their closet or under their bed. So it's like a disinfectant monster spray, and it could
It's
just be
on
like,
Amazon.
Oh,
oh, it
really?
is? It's an
Hmm.
Uh,
actual thing? That's hysterical. But like maybe it's just putting water in a spray bottle and like labeling that spray bottle whatever name they want to name it, and whatever they are feeling like that maybe is making them feel afraid or not wanting to be in their room alone, or, not wanting to do bedtime. And they can really make it their own and that spray it around the room. It kind of like that glitter, right? Like it's something that's like so tangible. And I think kids really lean into these kinds of things, and they're able to see the magic in things that I feel like in a way we kind of lose. Like hopefully not too much as adults, but kids are really able to see that, and that is so special. And so I think I really love that idea, of this kind of spray that maybe can put a little like essential oil in it or something, and then they could decorate the bottle. Um, and it kind of empowers them to make that their own and use it almost like as a shield to give them like confidence.
Maddie, thank you so much. You've got my brain stewing. I'm a high school special education teacher, and I work with kids on the spectrum. And I've got some kids that, just renewing my sense of like empathy, because it can, as a parent, I imagine it can be very exhausting. And so to your point of number one, parents do need to take care of themselves, but also I think one of the big things that you brought up, and it is something that I always strive for, and don't always do, but it's predictability and connection.
Mhm.
And when you're in the middle of a crisis moment, that's not when we're teaching new skills. So, we're
Mhm.
not learning when we're dysregulated, right? We're in a whole different place. We're in our amygdala, and things aren't being coming in. So, and I find myself like, I know this stuff, but it's hard because you
Sure.
start to kind of like, instead
Yeah.
of co-regulate, you kind of escalate too, and then you can see
Yeah.
things just go off the rails. So, I really feel like it was timely for me. I appreciate you sharing all this information with us, and I really liked, just some of the activities and the resources that you shared. I'm really looking forward to digging into those and learning a little bit more. So, thank you for that. I want to remind our families that the first Tuesday of the month, like tonight, we have a parent learning series, and you can go to our website, brightfamilyengagement.org/25-26, and you can see the topics that we have. And then the second Tuesday of the month is our parent caregiver conversations, and that's where you can join Lakeisha, Victor, and I. And we are open to talking about all things parenting. It is a hard job. And I'm going to go back to what Maddie said, is like, you got to take care of yourself. And some of that is just taking the load off of your shoulders and sharing it with someone else. So we are open to sharing with you and being in community with you. We would love to see you. And those are 4 to 5 p.m. Um, Pacific Standard Time, and then 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then our last Tuesday of the month, we have our BIPOC affinity group led by Victor and Lakeisha. And so if you're a parent of a BIPOC student, we would love to see you join us and again, join them in discussing all things parenting and the struggles that go along with that. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody. Thank you.